Symphonic metal legends are back. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 18 of my album Song Rank and Review series. This time featuring the brand new 8th studio album from Within Temptation entitled Bleed Out. Now, I was pretty excited about this one, even though I am not historically really big into symphonic metal. But there's no doubt that this band has been a force of nature for a long time. Sharon Den Adele has some amazing vocals, and the rest of the band, which features another 5 members, are awesome too. They have great guitar tone, and they do a great job of pushing the boundaries of what you might think symphonic metal is. There's a lot of gothic influences, but you also hear some metalcore influences, a little bit of progressive metal. And I'll tell you all this, Bleed It Out really surprised me in terms of how different the songs sounded from each other. It was not what I expected as one of my first full listens to a symphonic metal record. Let's dive in here. What I'm going to do is take each of the 11 songs and rate them from least best all the way up to the best. Then I will review and rate the album overall a score of 1 to 10. Let's get into it. As I am progressing through these, please add your comments if you agree or disagree. Maybe you have a different ranking. I want to see your thoughts as I go through this album. So coming in at number 11 is actually the final song in the album, Entertain You. This one we've known about for a long time. It was released in May 2020 during the P Word, and it has not aged well. This is a bit of a cheesy tune. I admire that it is fun sounding. It's very upbeat. It's one of those kind of, like it's trying to be an anthem, but it doesn't work. The opening lines, "Don't be mistaken, your bloody time's up. This ain't no game. We're not here to entertain you." Okay, I like the message. I just think that it's a bit cheesy, and I also do not like the vocals provided by Within Temptation's producer, Daniel Gibson, who has been producing their albums for a long time, and I respect his work. It's really hard to get that male-female vocal mix in this type of song without it coming off as a little corny. But the instruments are great. Sharon's vocals sound really good, and again, that dynamic just doesn't quite do it for me. It's a skip. Okay, do not start panicking. The final 2 songs of the track list I actually have ranked at the bottom. And this by no means indicates that the end of the album isn't very good. This is more of a testament to how strong the particular middle section of this album is. Regardless, we have Unbroken. This is a slow, broody, moody type metal song. The hook in the chorus is powerful. However, Sharon's delivery comes off a little lectury for me. It is a strong hook, great vocal performance, but there's a lot that she has to say, and it feels like it's kind of rushed, and that doesn't fit the overall vibe of the song. Heavy synths on this one, no surprise for a symphonic metal tune. I do compliment the band for taking what could be a very typical song and adding some progressive elements to it. There's a ton going on amidst the overall slow but dreamy, morbid sound to it. And lyrically, this song, the title speaks for itself. Unbroken, you know what you're going to get, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Even though it is moody and broody, it's still somewhat optimistic. You have to be in a particular mood to really enjoy this song, but nonetheless, it's a great effort from the band. I want to clarify what I meant when I said the chorus felt lectury. The reason has nothing to do with the lyrics, but it really is the delivery and the speed, where it feels like so many points are being made, like boom, 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 and then that same thing repeated over and over again, where I just felt like it was like a lot coming towards you at once, where it feels out of nowhere. And hey, that's a good thing. It did make the song more unpredictable. Worth diving for is ranked number 9, and this one branches out of the symphonic metal territory. It is the fastest paced song on the album. It's a bit frantic. It deals with topics of war, so big social statements here. And the band pulls off this urgency very well. Sharon's vocals are usually very consistent, but they're also very emotional. So she matches the tone of all of these songs, and In Worth Dying For, she has that urgency. The verses have these nice start-stop guitar riffs, and those transition beautifully into the pre-chorus and chorus. The chorus is also frantically paced. My only complaint is that the synths are very, very much in the front of the mix. That is what you are going to get in a symphonic metal album. However, in some of these songs, you'll hear the synths take a little bit of a backseat. In Worth Dying For, there's so much in the front that it does take away from the heaviness of the track. Regardless, I love how ferocious these guitars sound and how effortlessly the band dives into traditional metal. Ranked at number 8 is actually the album opener, We Go to War, and I feel like that's a pretty low ranking for an album opener. Usually the album opener cracks the top 5 minimum, but We Go to War, for better or worse, is exactly what I expected when I started listening to Bleed Out. And it's great in its own right. It's typical for Within Temptation. It fits their style. It has some very gothic guitars mixed with a great melody that soars over the mix. It has this slow gothic guitar riff that's like a wall of sound, and then on top you have those synthesizers, so that keyboard slow melodic kind of high-pitched piercing melody that instantly gets stuck in your head. Sharon's vocal delivery is impassioned, and she really belts out these choruses, and I think they sound great. It's just predictable overall for me. By no means a bad song, but I expect a little more. Now, luckily, as the opening track, it's number 8, so the rest of the album does get better when you listen to it for the first time. The best part of this song is definitely the final chorus. I feel like Sharon takes her vocal delivery up another notch and is empowered. And We Go to War, it's kind of a battle cry, right? So she has to step up to that bold of a title, and she definitely delivers. 7th overall is The Purge, and this is one of the first songs that I feel like the band is really cooking on. Now, I've read that it's a typical Within Temptation song, and I disagree. I think there's a next level of urgency and delivery and overall tone that is different than previous Within Temptation songs. It has these awesome guitars in the verse that are much more on the hard rock and metal side than they are on the symphonic metal side. It's kind of like this higher strings, and it's kind of like a down, 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 and it has this like cool rhythm to it. And that mixes perfectly with the keyboards and the synthesizers going on. This is a perfect marriage of the two, where it's not like one is fighting for control over the other. And Sharon's vocals are right in the front, and she's delivering a ton of awesome, awesome lyrics. Her songwriting in this album is extremely personal as well as social, which is, I think, a really cool combination. It's hard to pull those off, and the chorus is massive. This is a great chorus, and it's a long chorus. There's a lot of lyrics, and there's also different hooks that happen. Like in the one part where she sings, yeah, you want me to fight it, and you want me to let go. Yeah, you want me to fight it, and you damn me if I don't. She does this like interesting enunciation part that is different from the rest of the lines in it. So I applaud that. This song is full of creativity. Now in Unbroken, I mentioned the chorus felt like Tree because there were so many words happening. In The Purge, it is much better executed. This was a great choice as a single. I think a lot of people forgot it because it was released back in 2020, but The Purge is going to go down as one of the more underrated tracks on the album. And in terms of overall style, I would say that The Purge is pretty easy to get into regardless if you're a symphonic metal fan or not. Next is Shed My Skin, and this is Within Temptation diving in to metalcore, but they get by with a little help from their friends in Anne Is Okay, the German metalcore band, and this is a great collaboration. Usually when there's a guest feature or a collaboration, you all know I put the song towards the bottom, but in this time it actually makes almost the top half of the album, and this is a really fun song. You have Sharon singing as well as both singers of Anne Is Okay, and they pull it off in a great fashion. It's a much better dynamic than the male-female vocal approach in Entertain You. This is by no means a crazy heavy metalcore song, but it is the band taking the metalcore formula and putting a Within Temptation spin on it, and I think it sounds great. Now, every metalcore song has some type of breakdown, and Shed My Skin has one, and it is a nasty, nasty, slow one. It is incredibly well done. No doubt there was a lot of influence from Anna's Okay. You have their vocalists really coming in together with Sharon's vocals. And it's sludgy, it's ugly, it's brutal, it's heavy, it's all of those things. This was a great experiment. Hey, I would love if Within Temptation made more metalcore themed songs like this. Ranked 5th overall is the album title track, Bleed Out, and this is an emotional tune. No doubt lyrically and thematically the centerpiece of the album, so great job naming the album after this song. Dark, it's ugly, it's beautiful, it's modern, and yet it also recaptures the band old sound. So let me break down what I mean by that. The intro guitars are incredibly down-tuned and slow, and you can practically hear the strings vibrating as these notes are held out for a long time. Then you get into the verse and you have very modern electronic sounds. Sharon's voice is much deeper in the mix, and that is done intentionally. There's kind of an echo effect. She's not very clear until the pre-chorus, and her voice is absolutely chilling. When she sings the lines, "How deep it cuts, enough is enough," it gives me chills every time I hear it. You hear the pain, the passion in her voice, and then you erupt into one of the best choruses of the album. It is a social song. It is very much about women's rights. It's deep, it's impactful, and this is a slow, brooding anthem. Not very upbeat. However, it takes you through a journey that twists and turns in directions that are painful, right? These lyrics are incredibly deep and sad. The band does a remarkable job of matching that energy with Sharon's lyrics. As much as this song is about tragedy and oppression, there is hope. So at the end of the song, Sharon and whoever is doing backing vocals for her sings, "There's a voice inside of me getting louder and breaking free." But then it goes back to those lines, "She bleeds out." So definitely dealing with sacrifice and paving the way to empower other people. It's heavy. This is heavy stuff here. Unlike We Go to War, Bleed Out is a very different and kind of experimental offering, even though it mixes a lot of the old Within Temptation with their new themes on the album. Ranked 4th overall is Don't Pray For Me, and I think this song is incredibly underrated. It was technically released as a single, but I haven't heard many people talking about it. Huge social statement song. I encourage you to read these lyrics. It's really profound. This is a really unique song for Within Temptation. Now, when I describe it as a gothic song with a very bleak outlook, you might think, okay, you've said that Within Temptation has songs like this. They do, but there's something a bit menacing, a little snarly in the delivery that makes Don't Pray For Me really unique. In parts of these verses, the guitars and the keyboards back off. You have bass and a great drum beat, and Sharon delivering an annoyed vocal delivery, which I like. She sounds annoyed, but she also sounds determined, and it sounds good. It's very captivating right away. I like that not a lot is going on, and that makes the chorus of this song explode. It is beautiful. It is soaring. Sharon's pushing her vocals to the limits, and it sounds fantastic. Sharon's vocals soar as she sings "I Cannot Breathe For You." And then there's this chant afterwards, and I like it because they're not completely overlapping each other. I feel like sometimes that takes away from melodies, but it's right after, and she's singing the chant part too, which I like. Sometimes when there's a lead vocal and then there's the backing vocals after it, I don't know, it just doesn't really do it for me. But Sharon sings with the backing vocals, and they sing, "You're trying over and over, denying what I feel." This delivery is really believable. It's empowered. As annoyed as she might sound in the verse, it's a very controlled annoyance, and in the chorus there's a lot of passion, and it's like trying to shake someone and make them listen to you. And I think Sharon does a great job of that, and it's incredibly attention grabbing with one of the most melodic choruses of the album. This is the heaviest gothic sounding song on the album too. The tempo is still medium to slow. However, it's heavy and it really is punchy. What's really cool is there's even some sampling in it, which I love. It's like not like Rob Zombie level sampling, but there's a little bit of sampling in there. So I think that's cool. It adds a little flair, a little swagger to the song. And those final lines of the last chorus, and every time you bow down your head to pray, don't pray for me, don't pray for me. It's a big statement. It's a very much leave me alone, you don't understand me, I am fine without you message. Ritual, ranked third overall, is my second biggest surprise song in the album. Maybe even my first, because it draws heavy inspiration from Type O Negative, one of my favorite bands ever. And you can hear that all over this song. You have these chugging bass riffs mixed with some guitar, but they're very much in the front of the mix. By far the most bass you hear in the album overall, and it's that slow, awesome chug. I have seen this song described in many ways, but what I will tell you is, to me, it's kind of a quirky song, but it's also sensual. So this is about female empowerment, and I've read that this song is about the ability of women to seduce and influence people in a male-dominated society. I think that is really cool. The tone is very reflective of that, and it's a fun song. It is a very seductive tune. It's unlike any Within Temptation song I have ever heard. It definitely doesn't really sound symphonic metal. It's fun. It's badass. There's a lot of swagger and confidence to it. And look, when you have a song that sounds like Type O Negative, you know it's going to be a little sensual. So great job drawing inspiration from Type O to deliver this type of song while still being on brand and having a theme that fits Bleed Out so well. There's some great chants that start the song and they kind of sound a little tribal. They're also after the choruses. The choruses themselves, I'll let you read the lyrics, very sensual, but also very catchy. There's some echoed vocals, which I usually don't like when there's a line and then like background lines. Because this song is a lot more straightforward and there's less going on, the layered vocals work really well. Ritual is a blast. It's a very fun song. The message is still very clear and very impactful, but a lot of these songs deal with very serious subjects. Ritual shows the band having a little bit more fun. Wireless is so deliberately epic and heavy, and it just captures all of the emotions of Bleed Out and delivered in pure Within Temptation fashion. It starts with these creeping violins that kind of get faster and faster, kind of a spooky intro, and then the band just takes off with these heavy pounding riffs. Sharon and the band all come together here and deliver very memorable verses and strong hooks amidst a lot of chaos. A lot of these songs had a mix of ugly riffs and then like kind of beautiful electronic elements. This song's elements are very cohesive, and that makes it pack a bit of a stronger punch than some of the songs that might sound similar, like We Go to War. Originally, this song was going to be called Mark of Cain. I thought that would have been a better title. However, the band chose Wireless. That's totally fine. Doesn't take away from the song. And that brings me to the hooks in the chorus because they are so good. And it's very simple. You hear this dun 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 or this whoa, and then the chorus drops. It's infectious. It gets stuck in your head. Sharon sings, "You never cared for us, just our halo." Deep message, really pointed and against people who want to harm other people. That's really what this song is all about. It addresses war propaganda, and the lyrics are just incredibly impactful. But what I like is the lyrics and message are there, but really what shines are the melodies. So sometimes when you have so much to say in a song, I feel like it might distract from the actual musicality. However, the musicality is fantastically written. The band is shining. Everyone sounds great. The melody is very strong. It is not one of the faster songs on the album, but it has such a great punch. This is the sound that I wanted to hear by Within Temptation when I listened to the album. I want to also emphasize again the urgency in the deliveries of the choruses, but particularly the final chorus where things get a little more complex, and what I mean by that is there's more layers to the song. The electronics are a little more pushed towards the front. And Sharon is practically pleading with her vocal delivery, and it's just incredibly impactful. I can't say enough good things about the song Wireless. It's one of their best for sure. I am being the ultimate edgelord here because there were 7 singles released for Bleed Out, yet number 1 ranked is not one of those. I've got Cyanide Love at number 1. And jokes aside, I'm not trying to be edgy by not picking a single. Cyanide Love is one of the weirdest, hauntingest songs that I have heard this year. It's downright creepy. It's gothic. It has a ton of weird melodies in it, but it's high quality. It is very enjoyable. It's jarring when you first listen to it. It makes you a little uncomfortable. This is Within Temptation, pushing their boundaries, being very experimental, and I think this pays off. This should be on metal stations. Sure, it is symphonic metal, but it's so much weirder than that. I can see this fitting in on a Halloween playlist, or like with In This Moment or Ice Nine Kills. And I think the band was going for spooky. I mean, after the first verse, you hear this ooh, creepy oohing that sounds like ghosts. It sounds like ghouls, but it is Sharon doing it. And she even mentions ghosts. She says, I'm like a ghost and I'll arise behind you. And the spooky part comes, it's like, whoa, what is going on? There are so many highlights to this song, but one of the coolest parts is the background vocals where Sharon is actually singing in German. Kind of sounds like a children's nursery rhyme chant, but it's in German, so you know it sounds creepier. Now, I use Reddit as a reliable source to look up the translation for those lines, and they are 1, 2, 3, 4. I have not seen anything. I have not heard anything. I won't talk. Now, I'm thinking the Cyanide Love is kind of like biting that poison apple. She does mention biting something, and she does mention the bite in the chorus. And speaking of the chorus is the least out there part of the song. It's very memorable. It's got a great hook to it. And even though it is the most normal part of the song, you still have these weird parts where there are whispered vocals between lines. Sharon sings, "You will get my cyanide love." You can barely hear it unless you're wearing headphones. So a lot of cool layering going on. It's just such a unique song. It's one of the most fun experiences I have had listening to a new song this year. As far as the instrumentalization, the guitars stand out too. Yes, they're slow and doomy and creepy, but they also have these great little fills. So you don't just have these heavy doom gothic metal power chords. There's these nice fills that kind of remind me of a little bit of a gent influence, which is really cool. It makes the song a little chaotic. It adds an edge to it. It's less predictable than just the gloom that you get stuck in. That riff comes in and it's pretty quick and then goes away again. It's on the edge. It's ominous. There's pianos that add the creepiness on top of the traditional synths that we hear. Cyanide Love is a blast. It is so enjoyable because it's so unique. In this situation, creativity wins. Cyanide Love sounds like nothing you've ever heard before. Turn it up, get weird with it. The 8th album by Within Temptation is very enjoyable. Now, I did not know what to expect with it. It is my first time listening to a Within Temptation album start to finish. I knew what I was getting into, or so I thought. I know what symphonic metal sounds like, and I don't really actively pursue listening to it. If it's on or mixed into a playlist, fine. But it's not really my genre. What I love about Bleed Out is it adds a next level of urgency mixed with very relevant social topics that make this album more relatable, but also motivating and powerful. There's an extra snarl to the delivery on a lot of these songs. And I do think some of them might sound similar to each other, but each song is very, very well crafted. I would say ranks 9-1 are so solid in their own right. You could tell the band took their time with this, and they've delivered a very powerful album. And for those reasons, Bleed Out gets a score of 8.8 out of 10. This by far exceeded my expectations. When I first heard We Go to War, I was a little panicked because I was like, oh boy, I know exactly what this album is going to sound like, but no. There are a ton of twists and turns. I love to see Within Temptation taking symphonic metal, but pushing boundaries in different directions, going slightly gent in one ways. There's a metalcore song, there's doom metal involved, there's traditional metal. So they're going outside of their comfort zone a little bit, but still, there's no identity crisis here. The band has a great original sound that they stick to. For album number 8, you don't really hear bands pushing their boundaries like that, so I think this is a great win for them. I think the band set out on a mission with this album, and it was completely successful. But I want to know your thoughts on Bleed Out by Within Temptation, so please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Was this album that good? Do you like symphonic metal? Do you think Rating Cyanide Love is absolute madness? I want to know what you all think. I will see you all next time. Thank you for watching.